UMAR AHMED, IFL TV, MTK Global. We're in Providence. I'm joined by David Higgins. How are you feeling?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You look nice and relaxed.
Thank you. So do you.
How's Joseph feeling, more importantly?
He's looking sharp. In fact, I'd go as far as to say Barry and I saw him do some work with Kevin this morning. He'd be the sharpest I've seen him, and precision in terms of movement, fitness, looking lean. He's taking it mentally, he's very serious, and he's looking sharp, and he's feeling good and relaxed. Cool as a cucumber.
That's good. Takes on an Aussie. It's a bit of a random one. We're in Providence, Rhode Island, taking on an Aussie. What do you guys know about Alex Leapai?
Well, there's a bit of history there. So I'm a friend of Noel Thornbury, Alex's manager and promoter, and in the year 2014, Alex Leapai got called up at only 2 weeks' notice against Denis Boitsov, massive underdog, and he beat Boitsov and earned a shot against Klitschko in Germany, in Oberhausen. Okay. And so we wrangled Joseph onto that undercard. So Klitschko fought, Leapai there in Germany, and Joseph was on the undercard as a younger man then, and we got to know Leapai and Noel through that journey, and they're both of Samoan heritage, so there's a sort of a mutual respect and a heritage there, and it's business, and may the best man win, and we're going to be we're friends, but we're going to be foes on Saturday nights for at around 10 p.m, and we'll see what happens. But Leapai's not to be underestimated. There's that saying, power's last thing to go. He's a very heavy puncher with a solid chin. So, I think Joseph's the favourite, and as long as Joseph performs at his best, there shouldn't be a problem. Okay.
Of course, this is Matchroom debut. Now, what's sort of the plan with Joseph after this? Assuming he gets through Saturday night, what sort of opponents are you looking at next?
Well, that's a good question. So Joseph had a run at the heavyweight title. He became world champion, defended it. He's had 3 children born, another child born while he's away in camp. But he has had 6 months off, and he deserved that, to recharge and spend time with his family. Now he's dead serious at a second run at the title, and he's dead serious about fighting as often as possible. So Joseph has said to me that he would like to fight in June and September and December. Now, the promoters, Matchroom and Eddie Hearn, but they have so many shows in the UK and the US now that Joseph should be able to fulfil that. And so he wants to fight 3 times this before the end of the year, and he'll fight pretty much anyone. We'd happily take a rematch with Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte calls everyone out, but he's not mentioned Joseph Parker's name once since that headbutt. Think about that. And I think he knows it's a risky. So we take the rematch, but I don't think that's going to come. Chisora, we'd fight him. Whatever makes sense. And we've got the deal with the promoter Matchroom's a good deal, such that there's good fight like this opportunity, but when the really big fight, if and when it comes along, say Tyson Fury or Joshua, it can switch into a revenue share scenario, and so yeah, it's a good contract that Joseph has with Matchroom.
Okay. On the point of Derek Chisora, they were obviously rumoured to fight earlier this year, I think it was. What happened with that?
Oh, we were in. That fight was on. What happened is Eddie Hearn and Chisora's manager David Hay kept publicly blagging about Chisora Parker as if the fight's made and going to happen. And we were in. And behind the scenes, I'm repeatedly emailing and texting Hearn and Hay saying, send me a contract. Week after week goes by, no contract. 12 weeks. And they know full well that Joseph Parker's got a family in New Zealand and trains in Vegas. And they saw that Dillian Whyte may have benefited from a narrowed 7-week camp. So Dillian Whyte, Joe had a 7-week camp.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So Hearn and Hay are almost arrogantly carrying on like Chisora Parker's happening, but they're not sending us a contract, and we're not going to send Joseph back into camp until there's a fight made. So at 11 weeks, 10 weeks, 9 weeks, 8 weeks, 7 weeks, and I think we called their bluff. Eventually I said to Hearn and Hay, I said, if you don't have a contract and a formal deal to me by Friday, we're going to pull the pin and we're not going to fight Chisora. I don't think they took me seriously. So anyway, it got down to about 6 or 7 weeks, and Joseph and I both agreed we're not going to run a short camp again. So we pulled the pin. And then I'm getting text messages from Hearn and Hay, and then Chisora's carrying on like Joseph dodged them. Absolute rubbish. The terms were agreed, the fight was made, they just failed to send us a contract, and I actually think they're cynically trying to run Joseph's camp down to get an advantage after the doing white. So the message to Chisora is that Joseph would happily fight you, or he just wants a respectable 10 or so weeks to prepare. So have a chat to Hearn, and if Joseph wins on Saturday, then we can talk about that fight.
Okay. Another heavyweight that springs to mind, because Eddie Hearn actually works with him in some capacities, Alexander Povetkin. Now, I think we'd love to see that fight between Joseph and Alexander. Is that a fight that Joseph's talked about?
Yeah, funny that's not one, Joseph will fight anyone and we talk about fights, but that's not one that we've discussed. Okay. That's not to say we wouldn't look at it, but it's one that hasn't been discussed among the camp.
Right, okay. We know him and Tyson are very good friends, Joseph and Tyson. They've been spending a lot of time in Vegas, obviously he was out for Tyson's camp. So, but they would happily get it on as well?
I'll judge by what I've heard with my own ears. Joseph Parker would happily get it on. He admires Tyson, he considers Tyson a friend, and he regards Tyson as probably the trickiest of the top, the elite.
I think he said he's the best heavyweight in the world, Joseph said that, yeah.
And so, but Joseph sees boxing as business. He sees Tyson as a friend, he can do business in the ring and then still be friends. Tyson publicly has said otherwise, that Joseph's a brother and he might not want to fight him. So I don't know. I mean, if the opportunity arose, Joseph would certainly consider it, and I guess only time will tell whether Tyson would as well.
Seems very refreshing, and this attitude from Team Parker and yourself, that you literally are just open to anything. You'll take anything after this fight on Saturday. Hopefully he wins.
Yeah, I know. It's a risk-return business, but provided the terms and the finances are right, you fight anyone. Like, look at the Dillian White fight. It was taken at relatively short notice, but for Joseph it was a very good remuneration for the risk, and it helps set his family up, and so there's no regrets. And I think Joseph's proven he'll step in with anyone, and that's genuine. He's fought all comers, and that will continue, provided the deal's right. And back to your Chisora example, they just failed to put. If they'd put a simple contract in front of us, that would have happened.
Okay. Joseph's the only man standing at the moment who's got a win over the current unified heavyweight world champion. Obviously, I'm talking about Andy Ruiz. Andy has come out and said that he actually wants that fight with Joseph Parker again. He wants that rematch because he wants to avenge his loss, obviously. Again, we're going to have to see what happens with Joshua Ruiz, the winner, but that's a sort of a no-brainer for Joseph to fight the winner of that fight.
Yes, awesome. There's a triangular situation between Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz Jr. and Joseph Parker, in that Joseph Parker is the only man to have taken Anthony Joshua the distance. Andy Ruiz is the only man to have beaten Anthony Joshua, and Joseph Parker is the only man to have beaten Andy Ruiz. So there's unfinished business.
Absolutely.
So to put Joseph on the undercard of that makes perfect sense, and I think it makes perfect sense for Joseph to fight the winner, as provided he keeps winning. So, and Ruiz, I think Parker won against Ruiz, very close.
It was close.
It was very close, but Parker won. Ruiz probably sees it differently. He probably thinks, oh look, if the fight was in Mexico, I would have won. So for Ruiz, there's unfinished business, and so that's good for Joseph Parker, provided Joseph keeps training, keeps fit, keeps winning. What he can count on is a mega fight next year, a fight against the likes of Ruiz for world title, or Joshua if he wins at Wembley. And so Joseph has an exciting this year, but next year he could be fighting at Wembley in front of 100,000 people.
David, I do want to ask you about Joshua Ruiz. We spoke before the fight, and you were very sort of high praising of Andy Ruiz Jr. Gave him a very good chance in that fight. Obviously, he shocked the world. Do you think there was something wrong with Anthony in that fight?
Well, look. When we started negotiating Parker Joshua, I cheekily said, I think Anthony Joshua's got a questionable chin.
We remember the press
And
conference.
I think he's got a questionable mental toughness. Now, Ruiz kind of showed that a bit. In that fight, Joshua showed a questionable chin and he showed questionable mental toughness. And it took a couple of years. And Joseph almost did, but the ref, every time Joseph got in there, the ref sort of pulling him off. So I think that Ruiz was, that old saying your grandmother said, never judge a book by the cover. Ruiz was judged by the way he appears, when beneath that all, he's very, very fast hands, good chin, but also he doesn't give a fuck. Like he's a gangster. I mean, I really know respect. His mindset of being underestimated your whole life, wrong side of tracks, whatever, and then feeling that you got robbed against Parker, you got something to prove. And so I was shocked that they chose Ruiz at 2 weeks' notice. I thought the last person at 2 weeks' notice, a hungry Andy Ruiz with something to prove, and he didn't just beat Joshua, it was a demolition. And the look in the eye said it all. I think that Joshua was psychologically broken, and it'd be interesting to see how he comes back.
Do you think he quit in that fight?
There was definitely an element of, I wouldn't say he quit, but I think if you study it, there was an element of quit there. You know, not yeah. I think anyone would agree. I don't know.
Okay. In that rematch, then, do you see anything different happening? Do you give Joshua a good chance in that fight?
Look, boxing, you never know. Joshua might stand on the end of his jab, be disciplined and boring, fight the way he fought Joseph Parker, take no risks, shut Andy out, and jab his way to a victory. Personally, I reckon Ruiz is going to demolish him worse than the first time. I reckon Joshua now will doubt himself, and Ruiz will be on a high, and I reckon Ruiz is just going to storm in and just crack him and just put him to bed. Could be wrong, but I was right the first time.
You were. So you see Ruiz winning the rematch?
If I had to bet, I'd say Ruiz will win the rematch.
Okay, and hopefully sets up a massive fight with Andy and Joseph, because Andy said that he wants that rematch with Joseph to avenge that loss.
So look, for Joseph, that's a fairy tale, and Joseph has the confidence of being the only man to beat Andy Ruiz, and Joseph's disappointed with Joshua. He feels he didn't quite leave it all in the ring. Had he got in the inside of Joshua, he could have done what Joseph could see himself doing what Ruiz did. And so it'll be a cracker fight when Joseph and Ruiz do have a rematch. And like, where would it be? I don't think you put it in England. Oh, Joseph's got a good fan base in England, actually. You could O2, maybe MGM, don't know. But
I think DAZN would pay a lot for that.
Yeah, so probably a US matchup next year, if we get there.
But obviously Al Heyman's got Ruiz, so that don't know whether that could land on another network, on Fox or Showtime.
Well, it doesn't really matter as long as Don King said, what makes dollars make sense.
Absolutely. Just the last question, actually, David. Back to Chisora. You said that you want Joseph to be on that undercard of Joshua Ruiz, wherever that is, whether it's MSG or in the UK. So a fight with Derek Chisora perhaps makes sense, because he's fighting with Spilka soon.
Yeah, not rocket science. Chisora's got a name. He's entertaining. People know he comes to fight. It's been brewing a bit.
Do you see Joseph knocking him out?
I think Joseph beats Chisora, and if it was Joshua Ruiz with Parker Chisora on the undercard, that's a great.
That's
bill.
worth 20 quid.
And then should Joe win, fight the winner. It's a good plan.
Absolutely. David Higgins, appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of the week in Providence, and we'll catch a word after Joseph's fight.
Cool. Thank you.